T.S Elliot's The Wasteland is the most famous poem written this century and the high point of the modern movement in poetry. On the strength of it, Eliot was to become the most respected poet of his age, a cultural guru who in later life could attract audiences several thousand strong to his lectures. And though Eliot was to have several careers as dramatist, critic, publisher and editor, it was as the author of The Wasteland that he was always primarily known.
For my summer presentation, I decided to focus on the poem T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland is one of the most important poems of the 20th century. This poem reflects deep on the sense of loss and confusion that followed World War I. Eliot uses a fragment structure, shifting voices, and powerful imagery to create a world that feels broken, just like the societies trying to recover from World War I. This poem begins with the famous line, "April is the coolest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land," which immediately sets a tone of discomfort and contradiction. Normally spring is a time of renewal, but here it feels cruel, because even as life returns, the pain of the past is still fresh. This idea connects to the experience of many soldiers and civilians who witnessed so much destruction struggle to return to normal life. Throughout the poem, Eliot describes dried up rivers, empty cities, and disconnecting voices. This paints a picture of a world that feels lifeless and lost. These images not only represent the physical destruction caused by World War I, but also the emotional impact it had on people's minds and spirits. One of the most striking things about this poem, The Wasteland, is how fragmented it is. Eliot is constantly shifting between voices, languages, and historical reference, creating a sense of instability and confusion. This reflects how war shatters people's understanding of the world and how it makes everything feel disconnected. The poem doesn't follow a clear story, but instead it brings different pieces together from literature, mythology, and religion. Poured from Dante's Inferno, Shakespeare's The Tempest, the Bible, and even Hindu scriptures. But instead of giving us clear answers, these references feel broken and scattered, as if the past itself can't help people make sense of the present. In this way, Eliot shows us that tradition, beliefs, and stories, which once gave people comfort, no longer seem to provide meaning in a world that has changed so much. In this poem, Eliot uses a strong contrast of irony to help highlight how the war has blurred the lines between civilization and destruction. In a quote he uses, "A game of chess," he mixes images of high class, elegance, with moments of emptiness and alienation, showing how even places of supposed refinement, people feel the most lost and disconnected. This poem also explores the theme of spiritual emptiness, especially in the Fire Sermon, where Eliot blends Christianity and Eastern religions, ideas to show how the world is more focused on materialism and shallower pleasures rather than on deeper values. This reflects how many people after the war felt disconnected with religion, government, and even humanity itself, realizing that the beliefs they once trusted had failed to prevent such massive destruction that World War I has caused on the earth. The major themes found in the poem, The Wasteland, despair, the loss of meaning and struggle between destruction and renewal, directly connected to the effects of war. The barren landscape Eliot described mirrors the real-life devastation of battlefields, where cities and entire religions were reduced to rubble. Eliot also captures the alienation felt by many returning soldiers who came back to societies that no longer were familiar to them. However, despite its bleak vision, the poem does offer a small sense of hope in the final section. And he quotes, "What the thunder said." Elliot introduces the possibility of returning, using the Hindu phrase data, dahavan, damata, which translates to give, sympathize, and control, and ending with the repeated phrase Santith, Santis, Santis, a Sikh prayer for peace. These final lines struggle that even in the middle of destruction and confusion, there may still be a way forward and there may still be hope.
This month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. Winter kept us warm, covering earth in forgetful snow, feeding a little life with dried tubers. Summer surprised us, coming over the Starnbergersee with a shower of rain. We stopped in the colonnade and went on in sunlight into the Hofgarten and drank coffee and talked for an hour. Bin gar keine Russin, Stamm aus Litauen, echt Deutsch. And when we were children, staying at the Archduke's, my cousin's, he took me out on a sled and I was frightened. He said, "Mary, Mary, hold on tight," and down we went.
In the end, the poem The Wasteland is not just about war. It's about what happens after war, when people are left to pick up the pieces. Elliot uses his vibrant structure, vivid imagery, and deep historical references to reflect a world in Christ. Struggling to find meaning after so much loss, but while the poem highlights destruction and emptiness, it also suggests that there's a chance for renewal and hope. Even if it isn't clear how, this is what makes the poem The Wasteland not just one of the most famous works of modern literature, but also the most powerful poetic responses to war and its lasting effects on society. Thank you for listening to my sound presentation on T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. This poem was created in the 1920s, and it reflects on the struggles of war and the struggles of societies after war.